Welcome back to another one of Nathan Bell's commentary videos about philosophy, science, politics and culture. Don't forget, if you like what Nathan's doing here, like and subscribe whichever platform you're on. And if you've got a friend that might enjoy this topic, then give it a share with them so you can share the conversation. Today, Nate's going to tell you about where he sees the future of technology going.
Yeah, well, I'm going to talk in this video about 3 futuristic technologies which I've studied because I'm a futurist. I became a futurist maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I started following futurist and physicist Michio Kaku, and he really opened my mind about some of the potentials of where the future could go. So I've become a futurist, and I'm really invested in what humanity is going to look like in 100, in 500, in 1,000 years. And I encourage everyone to think about these things because people are very conservative. They think, it's always going to be this way. And when they talk about how policy should be formulated and they talk about their views on politics, it's always from this very now perspective. You've got to open your mind. You've got to look 100 years ahead and say, well, what is the world going to be like? Then you've got to craft policy that reflects projections for the next century. Think further ahead, please. It's very important that we think further ahead and we see where the world is going to go. So I'm going to talk about brain-computer interfaces. I'm going to talk about space elevators, and I'm going to talk briefly about organic computers. I don't know much about it. So about the neural interface which Elon Musk is developing, this is the idea that we would get chips in our brains and we would be able to have the internet streaming straight into our brain. So theoretically you could have music streaming straight into your brain or YouTube videos streaming straight into your brain. So about the neural interfaces, it's basically going to facilitate telepathic communication. Now, people think when they think about having chips in their brains and becoming cyborgs, they think that this means that we're going to become this detached robotic species. We're not going to have any emotions anymore. We're going to become very droid-like. But actually, it could be quite the opposite. You see, if you can communicate immediately with someone and share thoughts and emotions over a wireless network between 2 people, you can actually communicate better. You can have a better understanding of each other's individual perspectives because you can see each other's thoughts. So I feel it's possible that the neural interface, the brain-computer interface, may actually increase people's empathy for each other because they'll actually be able to share their deepest thoughts and their deepest emotions immediately with each other across this network that they are connected through. And essentially with the neural interface, everyone who has the neural interface can be connected in like a hive mind. So the question is, will we all start thinking the same thing, and will we sort of merge? Will our minds merge into one mind, and then everyone who has the neural interface will be thinking the same thing at the same time, or will we still all retain individuality? There's concerns with technology like this that people will be able to spy on each other's thoughts, but we need legislation when this sort of technology comes out, we need legislation which protects cognitive liberty, which says that you have privacy firewall and people can't invade your thoughts. Because if you've got the brain chip, theoretically an external body could start to pump ideas and information into your mind and override your cognitive sovereignty and start controlling your behaviour and controlling your choices. So that's a very scary threat. So we need legislation that when this technology becomes mainstream, we need legislation that protects people's individual cognitive liberty. Because you could get marketing content pouring straight into your head, and your thoughts and your behaviours could be overridden by external bodies. So we need those laws to protect people's cognitive liberty. But I do think that the neural interface will increase empathy and will help people communicate better, because there's a lot of barriers in communication. People don't understand the terminology that other people are using. People can't empathise with each other's emotional state and with each other's psychological state. But when we're connected through these networks of the Neuralink, we'll be able to see each other more truly. We'll be able to know each other's personal thoughts and personal feelings, and we will connect better. And in my manifesto, the Australian Liberal Anarchy Party, I talk about how people with the neural interface will be able to jack straight into the online forums where we vote in my democracy, and will be able to have an immediate say we'll all be able to work as a hive mind, coordinating our nation through our neural interfaces. So there's a few thoughts about the neural interface. Don't be so scared of the neural interface. It could be a good thing. Don't be scared of being a cyborg. It could be a good thing, and I do believe in some way it is the next step. The other thing I wanted to talk about is another idea I present in my Australian Liberal Anarchy Party, which is the space elevator. Now, people hear this idea of the space elevator. It's essentially a bridge, a structure that reaches from ground into orbit and can lift objects into space. And it would probably go up on an angle. It wouldn't go straight up because gravity is too difficult that way. It would probably go up on an angle. So what I want to say about the space elevator, it's not a silly idea. You need to understand the principles of why the space elevator is a good idea. You see, when we propel objects into space, we have to use absurd amounts of rocket fuel to defeat gravity and to propel small pieces of equipment into space. But the space elevator means that we can easily lift things into space. So we don't have to pump all this rocket fuel in to lift things in, to get things into space. We just lift them into space. And so the way the space elevator would work, there would be a ground station and then a structure which would reach up into space, and then there would be a space station at the top, and we would lift things from point A to point B. And then, so what we would want to do, if we wanted to build a big starship, like a big mammoth starship that we could send to, the moons of Jupiter or something, or send to the asteroid belt to mine minerals from the asteroid belt, we would lift all the individual parts of the spaceship into orbit, and then we would construct the ship in orbit. And the reason it's good to construct ships in orbit is because it's a zero gravity environment, so you exert less energy moving objects in zero gravity, and you can manipulate things with less need for energy in zero gravity. It's easier to build things in zero gravity because everything doesn't have the same weight, so you can move things around and you can construct. And you could never build this massive starship that could have like 100 people living on it. You could never build it on the ground and then propel it into space, because it just takes so much energy to get away from the Earth's gravity and out into orbit. So the space elevator means we can lift all the materials to build the spaceship into space, then build the spaceship in orbit where it's already in space. Then it's just got to rocket away and go where it's going. So that's why the space elevator is a good way to expand our species out into the solar system. And I do think we can go out into the solar system, and I think that would be exciting to have colonies throughout the solar system. I want to say, if we ever come across any other species, we should respect their sovereignty. I don't believe in conquering or colonising sovereign nations. So if we do come across aliens, we should respect their sovereignty. I think we might find aliens on some of the moons of Jupiter. I wonder if we will. But if we do, we should respect their sovereignty. We might not be alone in this solar system. We don't know. There's a lot of stuff out there. But we can go out and we can colonise dead planets, and we can set up bases. And I don't see a problem with mining the asteroid belt for minerals. It's land that isn't used, and it's stuff that's just sitting there and not being used for anything. So I think we can take it. I just don't think we should take from other sovereign species. So the space elevator will help us expand out into the solar system, and I think it's a good idea. So learn about space elevators. It's not ridiculous, and there are practical reasons why it's a good idea. Now, one thing I want to say briefly excites me, which I plan to learn more about, is this idea that you could grow a blank brain. Because if you understand the brain is like a learning machine. It's like an extremely advanced wetware organic computer, and the brain can compute faster and with more power than any computer that we've been able to develop with hardware. So I like this idea that we could grow, it's a bit creepy, but think that we could grow a blank brain which didn't have any thoughts or independence or consciousness, and we could use the structure of the brain to compute data and to do mathematical computations and stuff. And so that's the idea of having an organic computer, because the brain can compute data. The brain is like a computer. It computes data. And I like the movie Prometheus, and the species in Prometheus, the engineers, they're this super advanced genetic engineering species. They genetic engineer life, and I think from what I saw of the movie, it looks like their computer systems are organic and their ships are organic ships. So I want to learn more about this idea of using blank brains, organic computers to process data and information. So there you go. So there's 3 futuristic technologies to have a think about, and think about the implications of the technologies. Like and subscribe to my channel, and give me a comment and tell me what you think about these ideas.